Hey everybody, Jim Sammons here from the Kayak Fishing Show. This week on Kayak Fishing Tales, I'm going to give you a rundown on how to make a pretty quick and easy full functioning live bait tank for your kayak. Now what I'm going to be doing today is going to be pretty specific to the Kraken, but these same techniques can be used for any kind of kayak, but there are some things that are specific to the Kraken. So you just make some changes to make it work with your particular boat. So the reason it's specific to the Kraken is the Kraken has a bait pump scupper, so your bait pump doesn't have to be dragging off the side of the boat. I'm also going to be using the Kraken crate, which has some pretty specific areas where I can mount my intake and my overflow. So those will be the specific things, but again, very easy to make this work on any other kayak as well. So this bait tank I'm making to work with a Nocqua power setup. So I got my Nocqua 12 volt 10 amp hour battery, as well as a Nocqua waterproof switch. The reason I'm doing it this way rather than hardwiring it into the kayak is this bait tank is actually going to be portable. So I'll be able to take it on my trips with me, so I won't have anything actually wired into the kayak. So really easy to move it around. It'll run a 500 gallon per hour Tsunami bilge pump, and because again we have the bait pump scupper on the Kraken, I will set up the hoses one way, but I will bring on my trips a longer hose to this pump, so if I need to, I can hang this off the side of the kayak rather than going through the scupper. So that's what we're going to start with. Now again, because we're using the Kraken crate, the Kraken crate has these shelves on the bottom of it. So I like to use an input. This was basically an adjustable spray head, and that's going to go in one corner. And then because these things are pretty short, and I don't like them that short, because if you lose power, you lose your water, I made an attachment for this, which is a taller input pipe. So this will go on the inside, much taller, at the level I want that water to be. Now, for your overflow, you can just put a hole in the side of the kayak with a hose on it if you like. Now, I don't like that style because you always have the sound of pouring water next to you, and that just gets kind of loud. I like mine to be a little bit quieter. So I use a stand pipe, and this is real easy to make. This is done with a 3/4 inch PVC pipe, and I will just put some holes around it so you don't get any kind of a suction or a lock there. If you don't put these holes in it, if you can see them, it tends to kind of fart or burp or whatever you want to call it. It makes these weird noises as the water overflows. By putting the holes in it, it ends that lock and the water just flows through. Now you can make this pipe any height you want, going by how much water you want in the actual tank. So just kind of play with that. And again, if you don't have a tank that has these steps like I'm using here, you can do the same thing. Like I said, you can do an overflow off the side, or you could do an L fitting and go out the side and still use a stand pipe if you'd rather go that route. And the same for the input. You can go straight into the side with one of these spray heads, so however you want to do it, but the equipment's all the same, and it's very, very easy, particularly again with the Nocqua batteries with the water tight connectors that they give you. So first thing first, I want to figure out where I want to have my input, and again, I've got these shelves, so I just need to line them up and get a hole bit, and I will drill a couple of holes and then show you how those go in. So there's our input. And that comes with a little plastic nut. And again, for my input, now we'll bring this up a little bit closer. This is just some PVC that I cut a groove into, so my water will spray out of that. I want to raise that up higher than the normal adjustable spray head, so if I do lose power, I want to shut off my pump, I don't lose the water. And that just So simple on that one. Now I'm going to drill a hole for the standpipe, and that's just going to be on the opposite corner. And again, you can do it however you want. If you wanted to do an overflow off the side, that works well also. I just like the standpipe because it is quieter. And that is the same size hole. This is a 1-inch spade bit. So again, just a piece of PVC with a couple of PVC connectors. Okay, so I have my water input and my overflow are now inside this, and I don't know if you can see those at all. So I will shoot it close up. One other thing that I like to add to my bait tanks is a drain plug. Now the standpipe I can just remove and it'll drain, but it still leaves about this much water in it. So I use an Igloo cooler drain closer to the bottom so I can get a lot more of the water out once I'm done fishing. So one thing I do is, rather than put it so the pull tab is on the outside, I actually put it on the inside of the tank. So kind of put it in backwards, but it makes it much easier so I can just reach in the tank and pull that tab rather than have to move a tackle box or something else out of the way. So real simple to add to the bait tank, but sure makes it nicer when you can drain all that water when you're done. There is the intake. And right down to the bottom is the drain. There is the standpipe. So again, because this is being set up for a Kraken, I've already got these things all set up. Now, these are hose fittings. These are quick release hose settings, stuff you can get at Home Depot. Some of these pieces at Home Depot or West Marine. Also, if you want a kit for the Kraken specifically with the pump and everything you need, you can get those at OEX Kayak Fishing Supplies. They've got all this stuff ready to go in a kit just for that boat. But again, really easy to set up. So I've got my 500 gallon per hour pump. And this fitting just screws right on here. Because what's going to happen basically is this is going to fit down in the boat, and then I have a weed guard that'll go on the bottom of that. To keep stuff from getting sucked in there, but also to hold it in position in the back of the kayak. Now again, if I want, I can just run a hose directly to this, hang the whole pump off the side of the boat. And that's what we did for years and years until we came up with the bait pump scupper on the Kraken. So really easy to kind of change what I've done here and use it on any kayak. Just hang the pump in the water. So I'm going to be setting up this pump to work with the Nocqua battery along with the waterproof Nocqua switch. And this is just so easy. Like I said, this will just plug into the bait tank really easy. So just take your wires. These come pre-stripped a little bit. And then you're going to find your plug, which I left sitting here somewhere. Here we go. So I've got my one end of the waterproof connector that comes with an Nocqua battery. So strip off about 1/8 of an inch off these. Now, if you get a Nocqua Power Pro kit, it comes with all waterproof butt connectors. Because this is like one of many that I've done, I'd had to go buy some. But waterproof butt connectors is what you want. And first I'll put one on each end of here. There we go. So a little waterproof shrink tubing to protect it. I will then get my battery end, black to black. And then in this case it's brown to red. And then we will get the heat gun and shrink those. So having a heat gun or a lighter is how you want to do that. I prefer using a heat gun. So the key here with doing these is just to be careful you don't overheat them and melt the shielding on the wire. Generally it's a good idea to start from the middle of the connector and work your way out. And you'll just see it start shrinking. And it gives a nice watertight seal. This really is the best way to do a connection if you're going to be in a water environment. Now I'll get that shrink tubing and go over the top of those. And again, that's just going to hold everything together a little bit better. This is not really the waterproof connection. This is just protecting those so they're not getting pulled on quite as much. It's the watertight butt connectors that are giving you the watertight connection. So just like that, that's all there is to it. So I have a good connection there. Now we'll take this waterproof switch, and realistically you could eliminate this from the whole system, but I like to do it so I'm not having to have open wires for my battery laying around or anything like that. So again, the Nocquas come with watertight connectors. So just from the battery to the switch, from the switch to the pump. There we go. So there's my battery, and I'll just set this in a I mean, it's a waterproof battery, so I'll just strap it somewhere, or I can put it in the tackle box or something like that. So, but there you go. I mean, I have my switch here. If you can hear that, I'll put it by my mic. So really easy. So now, like I said, this with that hose clamp, I just attach it to the bait tank, put this onto the kayak itself, or hang it over the side with a longer hose, and I'm good to go with a full functioning live bait tank. Well, I hope you can see how easy it is to set up a bait tank for your kayak, particularly when you're using those Nocqua Adventure Gear batteries and components. It just makes it a breeze. If I hadn't been shooting this video, it probably would have taken me 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops. So if you want to see more from Nocqua, just look them up at nocqua.com. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. Make sure you've subscribed to Kayak Fishing Tales. And remember, if you're ever going out on the water, always wear your PFD and keep your paddle right side up. Take care.